welcome back for another amazing episode of the Pokemon Go Third Shield PvP podcast. Guys, I have a special guest for you today. We have Kennan back on the podcast, who is actually the creator of PvP Ivy, that's the app which is similar to PvPoke, but is still different. We're going to talk about it in a minute, and we're also going to go over how to use it, just like the last time he was on the podcast. But most importantly, he has written a new article that is basically very exciting to read because it's all about how he finished in the top 5 of the leaderboard of last season. And speaking of the leaderboard, Kennan, I wanted to ask you, first of all, welcome back to the podcast, and I wanted to find out that how you're doing so far this season.
Hey, well, thanks for having me. I'm always happy to come on. This season has been pretty good for me. Last season, as you mentioned, I was top 5, so it's going to be, I think, pretty hard to replicate that. It's always very competitive at the top of the leaderboard, but I've been doing very well so far. I was basically top 100 on the leaderboards, maybe top 200 since like Ultra Premier Cup. Hit rank 10 in Master League, and then I think right now I'm getting close to 3,200, which I think is still good for top 100 on the leaderboard in a great league now.
It's really good. I like how you kind of like downplayed it. Oh, it's 3,200. It's to think about it in a way that how many players playing PvP, and every day, and then how hard in a way it is to get to that 3,200-ish. It's a pretty big accomplishment. So I want to make sure everybody who is watching, they understand that it's rough. But you got up there. When did you reach rank 10 this season?
In Master League, it probably would have been, I guess, about 2 weeks ago now. Maybe I've kind of lost track of exactly when the leagues changed over. But yeah, it was towards the middle to the end of Master League.
And so you are obviously a numbers guy, right? I assume.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, because right away the article is always statistics and everything, and statistics are huge. So what I wanted to ask you before and guys, we're gonna talk a lot about Fly Cup today, and then the Baby Cup, and lots of cool things. So there will be lots of awesome things gonna happen today. But at first, I wanted to pick Cannon's brain a little bit about how he builds his teams, which he wrote in the article, and basically because I shouldn't call you because I cannot even say the word mathematician. I can't even say it. But
Mathematician, yeah.
there we go. Yes, but what I wanted to say is that so when you build a team, do you look at all the statistics that what are the chances of that, let's say, lead winning the lead versus a safe swap? What are the chances that if you swap out, then that safe swap will do good in that current meta or league based on the statistics? Is that basically how you build the teams?
Yeah, I've been doing more and more of that lately. In the article you mentioned, I actually talk about how I've integrated into like the PvPIV iOS apps and tools for statistics, basically, where you can enter the Pokemon that you're using, the Pokemon you can play against, and it will sort of generate a list of rankings or even teams that it recommends based on those frequencies of Pokemon that you're playing against. And I used that last season to decide basically I was going to use an Umbreon lead. And I will say, Umbreon wasn't like the number 1 lead last season that it was recommending. I think there's probably like a Zumro or Scrafty or something like that. But, I tend to like pick a Pokemon I'm comfortable with in addition to picking the ones that, based on the analysis I'm doing, I think will do well. But definitely, I think, winning the lead or being able to, come back from the last lead is a big part of it. And this season, I ended up moving away from the Umbreon lead because I found a lot of people, more so than last season, were leading with counter users, which of course is pretty bad for Umbreon. So I actually switched over to a Hypno lead right now.
And so that's awesome, by the way, just to hear that how you actually putting together the teams and then how you adjust to it too. So when did you decide? Because I always want to know this answer because everybody's different. But when do you decide when a team is stopped working for you versus it's just like a bad day or bad week or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, so usually at the start of each season or each meta within the season, like Great League, Ultra League, I'll basically start out by trying a few different teams, based on the early matches that I played and what I've seen in my opponents. And then usually there just kind of comes a point where, for a while I'll be kind of stalled out, either, not gaining ranking or even dropping ranking at that start of that meta. And then at some point something just kind of clicks, like one of the teams that I try, maybe I'll have like a good like 4-in-1 set or a few back-to-back 3-in-2 sets. And when I kind of hit that point where, you know, I'm getting a lot of wins in a row, then I usually stop changing my team just to try to really learn that current one as much as I can. Once I'm feeling confident that, you know, maybe this one can take me all the way to rank 10 or to the top of the leaderboard.
So now that you said that, so then you are basically also sticking out with one team mainly in each league. Is that what you like to do?
Yeah, so basically, well, yeah, towards the end of that league, I'll definitely stick with one team. And basically, at the beginning, I'm just cycling through different teams until I kind of find that one that I think is going to be my best bet to kind of learn as much as I can and, you know, learn to play as well as I can.
Yeah, that's perfect. That makes perfect sense. And guys, don't forget in below in the I mean below the actual video if you're watching or below the audio, I guess I should call it. I'm gonna link in all the articles and also I'm gonna link in PvPIV so you guys can actually play around with it. First of all, you can read all the details how Kennan actually build these teams, how he changed it, how he won, and how he accomplished basically the top 5 on the leaderboard last season, and of course right now currently on the top 100 on the leaderboard or even top 50 maybe depends on the night when we're looking at it. but but yeah, so I'm gonna link in everything below, and then now I wanted to actually ask you about that. So fly cup is actually starting tomorrow, but before I actually want to ask you about the meta and how to use PvPIV for fly cup, what would be like the best stimulation and options, I also wanted to ask this question first. So what would be your suggestion to people who are very close to rank 10? Let's say they are in the 2800s, and tomorrow you can do what, 100 battles, right? If I'm correct?
Something like that, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
something like that. So, what would be your number one advice for people going into this tomorrow and they are like, let's say, only 200 points away from that rank 10? Should they go hard in Fly Cup or should they wait it out, or what would be like your advice?
Yeah, I think that's a really tough question. It depends a lot, I think, on the individual player because you know, if you're feeling really good in whatever league you're playing now, maybe Great League or whatever, as far as I understand, I think that's going to be available during the battle night as well. Is that right?
Yes, so in my understanding, that's what I'm thinking, that it will be available as well. I really hope so, but that's what I read.
Okay, yeah, that's what I've heard too. So, I mean, in that case, like if you're, you know, having a lot of success in your current league, I would probably just want to stay in that league and see if you can just get to rank 10 that way. Because, you know, at least for me, at the start of each league, I find that my rating usually drops a little bit, just because, you know, there's probably some rust. I haven't played that league in a while. And so for Flying Cup, where it's, you know, an entirely new meta, it might take a little while to find your, I guess, like comfort zone there and start actually gaining ranking. I know that for me, I'll probably play a couple games of Flying Cup just to try it out, but I'll probably be sticking mostly to Great League, you know, if I do complete all my sets. But, you know, on the other hand, if you've been kind of stalled out at like 2800, then I could also see a situation where maybe you're able to take advantage of sort of the new cup where it's not very familiar. And if you like find a good team right away and you're playing well right away, then, you know, maybe that's the like magical thing that you need to get over that last hump and get to rank 10. So it's definitely a tough choice. I think it just kind of depends on how you're feeling about the current league and how prepared you are for Flying Cup.
That's a really good point because you can totally get advantage over people who are just like you said, trying it out, but it could be also backfire because you don't have an advantage because you don't know what you're doing just yet. so, so as far as I want to circle back just a little bit because what you said made again perfect sense, which is stick to one league. So statistically speaking, in your case and your experience between the 3 leagues, where do you feel the most successful slash comfortable in, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I definitely think Great League is my best league, and part of that is that I think most people play Great League, especially at the end of the season when all the leagues are available. And so when you look at the leaderboard, almost all the top players, I think, at the end of the season will be playing Great League at that point, just because when you have more players, the MMR can inflate more, which means you can get higher on the leaderboard, just because there's more players playing. The top of the leaderboard is higher. So based on that, I usually favor Great League, and especially for me when I'm like at the top end of the leaderboard towards the end of the season. Like I wanted actually a couple of days ago to try out the Charizard with Dragon Breath in Ultra League because I haven't had a chance yet to play that, and I sat there for probably like an hour. You know, I was doing other stuff at the same time, and I never got a match. So at that point, I kind of just had to give up and play Great League because that's where the matches are at this point, at least at the top of the leaderboard. So just because that's where I usually play most of my games when all the leagues are available, I'd say Great League is definitely my most comfortable, probably followed by Master League, where I've hit rank 10 a couple times in there, and then I've said Ultra League is usually my worst league. I had some good success this season in Ultra Premier Cup, but probably still not quite as much as the other two.
That's so interesting to hear because every person has like their favorite league and favorite, lineup and everything. So it's just so cool to hear that you are different than somebody else who, let's say, loves Masters, somebody who loves Premier. It's just so cool to hear. Now, so going back to Fly Cup. So with Fly Cup, do you have a lineup in mind yet? Or do you have any tips to give away for people what Pokemon to watch out and what Pokemon they should have on their lineup? And on top of that, sorry, I'm asking a lot, but on top of that, how could they actually use PvP IV for their advantage to figure out what they want to use?
Yeah, so definitely Flying Cup, I think, will be a very condensed meta. There's only one type available in it aside from secondary typing. So it's going to be, maybe there's going to be like 10 to 20 Pokemon at most that you're going to be seeing. And based on the rankings, I didn't do rankings for PvPIV just because the meta is so small. I felt that it wasn't really necessary. Based on what we're seeing in PvPoke and what I've seen in like the individual simulations within PvPIV, I think the top of the meta is looking like what basically we were expecting, like Aerodactyl, Emolga, Zapdos, maybe Skarmory or Altaria in there. That very small group of Pokemon really doesn't get countered that well. I think that in particular, like Emolga, and I hope I'm saying that right, might be missing a couple letters there, but yeah, I think it's like only one Pokemon counters Emolga basically. Same thing with like Aerodactyl, like in all three shielding scenarios, is basically like no options in terms of like countering them. So I think we'll really see, those few Pokemon kind of rising to the top. A couple of tips that I would maybe give. One is that if you're using Aerodactyl, you really don't need a second move on it because it's pretty expensive. I think maybe against like Gliscor or something, if you happen to see one of those, which I don't think is too likely, you might want it, but you'll actually still win with just Rock Slide. So unless you're going for like Ancient Power Boosts or something, you can really save the Stardust in the second move. And also, if you have like some of the rarer Pokemon, like Emolga, I think is going to be pretty rare because it's got to be close to level 40. Like the Articuno might be pretty rare because it's so expensive to unlock a second move. And in particular, I think Shadow Aerodactyl is another good one. It's basically, it seems to be like a strict upgrade over regular Aerodactyl. So some of those rare Pokemon, I think people will be less prepared for, and then also looking very strong within the meta. So if you have those, that's probably where I would start. Unfortunately for me, I don't have any of those ones that I mentioned. So probably, roll with what I have, which is regular Aerodactyl, maybe Skarmory or Altaria or Mantine. And hopefully that'll be good. But yeah, definitely, I think you can use some of these less familiar Pokemon to your advantage.
So, so you're thinking that I maybe I misunderstood you, but you're thinking that Emolga won't be as common because it's so expensive. Is that what you said, or?
Yeah, that's kind of my hunch is that a lot of people, myself included, either won't have the candy or won't want to invest the Stardust to basically max out an Emolga. So I think it might be a bit less common, and especially you don't see it too often in Great League either. So people might not know how to play against it as much as say like in Altaria or something like that.
Yeah, it makes sense because, for example, the only reason I have Emolga is because I tried to make it work in Great League unsuccessfully. It did not work out for me at all. But for that reason, I still have it. Otherwise, just for this Fly Cup, which is only going on for a few hours, right? Or, well, I shouldn't say few hours, 6 hours, I think. but but because of that, I would have not maxed out. So you're right. We're probably not going to see as many Emolgas. But on the practice battles that I used, oh, Emolga was really good. I really enjoyed using it. It was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's flying under the radar a little bit with, everybody talking about Aerodactyl, but I think Emolga might actually be, if there is going to be a number one Pokemon, I think it's definitely in contention just as much as Aerodactyl is.
Yeah, and I got lucky too. I literally just caught a Shadow Aerodactyl, but obviously I cannot add. I only have rock slides on it because frustration, I can't tee them away. But
Yeah, I think you're probably good with just rock slide actually, but
exactly.
yeah, it is pretty expensive to. I have one too that I think I have you know, it would be like 140K dust or something to power up, and you know, for a one night thing, I feel like it maybe won't be worth it for me, but we'll see.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. Especially if you want to do a few sets in there. If you go hardcore, then it's probably worth it. But if you, because are we gonna, I think we're gonna get double Stardust, right? Or something like that.
I think you're right. Yeah, I was hearing something like that, which that'll be a nice benefit. Yeah, that's another thing where I almost wish I was lower on the leaderboard at this point because you know I won't be able probably to complete all my matches even if I play the whole time just because of wait times. So I'll miss out on some of that dust probably.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that. So since you brought that up, actually, about the wait time and everything, so I'm thinking, but I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if this new situation or setup going to fix this problem. Is the top of the leaderboard problem is because next season, so they're removing Elo, right? But we all know that I think, in my opinion, Elo was still there even this season, because the people I mean, let me ask you this. When the season started, and you were rank one, in season four, were you facing similar players that you finished the seasons with last season, or you face like a random Joe from whatever who is a rank one ever player? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd say it was mostly, you know, people who were ranked 10 last season, even at the beginning, but there was definitely some mix in of, you know, people who didn't have that ranked 10 pose.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I was thinking, because it feels like that even though we didn't have the elo, we still had the elo, but we just didn't see it. And the only reason I wanted to bring this up, because then the new setup won't fix the problem of waiting and queuing forever, to get a match, because it's still gonna be, even if you don't see the elo at rank 6, rank 10, whatever the rank will be, because now they're gonna hire it. It's the queue time is going to be still as long because you're going to try to be matched up to your level, right? Am I thinking correct? Is that what you think is going to be?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I think you pretty much got it just right. I don't know if they said for sure whether or not there's going to be like that hidden elo, but you know, like we've seen in past seasons, I would be very surprised if it wasn't there, just because they probably don't want, you know, ranked 10 players matching up against people who are just starting out. And in general, aside from the wait times, I think, you know, it's very positive to have the elo there. So
Yep.
yeah, like you said, unfortunately for those of us who started out with the high elo, it might mean longer wait times. But overall, I think elo is good to have anyway.
Yeah, perfect. And then, I wanted to go back real quick just to the Fly Cup. So let's say if somebody wants to build a team for Fly Cup and they want to see the stimulations before spending the dust, can they also do that in PvP Ivy?
Yeah, they can. So what I recommend doing is making a custom meta, which I talk about in the article I think that you'll link to. And basically, what you'll do is enter all the Pokemon you think you might face in Flying Cup, which should be pretty quick. Maybe you know those like 15 or so that are high ranked on PvPoke, and then you can also enter the ones that you have using your exact IVs and stuff, and then you can basically go through those and you can see for each one like all of the individual matchups in each even shielding scenario. Uh, Basically, which Pokemon will win, whether it's bait dependent. You can see a lot of details like that. So yeah, that's kind of what I was using to kind of see which Pokemon might be good, like leads, good safe switches, good counter or anti-meta type Pokemon. And yeah, I think maybe I'll send you a video too, which you can play to kind of demo that there
Yep.
too.
Awesome. That would be awesome. And guys, don't worry. If you are listening, make sure to click on the video so you can actually see it and you're going to be able to see what we're talking about. And if you are watching, then make sure you actually pay attention, I should say. But okay, so Fly Cup. So Fly Cup, I think it will be interesting. So what do you think about Niantic creating these cups and pushing for change all of a sudden? Because nothing happened for the past basically 4 seasons until just now. All of a sudden. So do you have any opinion on it, or do you like it? Where do you think they are going? Any thoughts would be awesome.
Yeah. I definitely see kind of both sides of it. You know, on one hand, I think variety is good. It, you know, tests different skills to play in different cups, keeps things fresh. On the other hand, I can see where, you know, you've got a lot of investment in like the skills and the Pokemon and the knowledge to play in kind of the current cups that we've come to expect every season. And so not having those at all is pretty interesting, especially also taking away like the competitive rank 10 aspect of it is also quite a big change. So yeah, I mean, in the long term, I hope that they have both kind of like they have, and it sounds like they will in the following season, kind of like, a super competitive final rank that you can only get by winning a lot of games and, and not losing as many games. And then at the same time, having more variety, more different cups. I guess I kind of want it all. But yeah, overall, I think that this is definitely a step in the right direction. And I hope that, they'll kind of expand our options even more so in the future.
And I have to ask you this: what do you think about the Baby Cup?
I'm pretty excited for that one. Yeah. I think it's also going to be a relatively small meta. We've got, like Bronzor, Dino, why not? Maybe some Cottony, some Seal. There's not going to be too many Pokemon, I think, that are really competing for that top spot, which I think pretty much is going to Bronzor. But I think it's going to be an exciting meta anyway. Definitely Pokemon you would really never get a chance to use in any other situation. So that part of it is very exciting.
And it's also pretty expensive if you want to create a few teams and not max out, because 500 CP would be perfect. You can find Pokemon actually at 500 CP even if you hatched it or caught it or whatever. But the second move, that might be a little expensive, especially what a Bronzon, isn't it like 75,000 or 50,000? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think it's 50,000, and I think with the best IVs, Bronzer actually goes all the way to level 40. So that one will be
Oh
pretty
my God,
expensive.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
so expensive.
yeah,
And you're probably never gonna use it again.
yeah. Right. Yeah, I have one that I think I'll power up, but it has higher IVs than like the ideal one, so it'll only go to maybe like level 32 or something. So it's gonna be a bit more reasonable, hopefully.
Yeah. Oh man. As far as there's one more cup actually that it's interesting to me, but it's also like sounds like kind of pain in the butt at the same time. But I feel like Pokemon Go had to do it because remember its catchphrase is you gotta catch them all, right? So it was only a matter of time that we're gonna have to get up, go outside, and catch something. So the question, what do you think about the I should call it the catch cup? What do they call it? Is it the catch cup or what?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, probably that one. I would say, to be honest, I'm probably least excited about that one just
Yeah.
because at this point, I don't do too much just like going out and catching since I have my Pokédex mostly complete. And then, in particular, like in my area, I basically never see like a Morel. So some of those like common Pokemon are like a Dino. Maybe I would see that in like just from rewards. But yeah, there's definitely some common Pokemon that I think either I've already built them and I don't want to build them again, or they're just so rare that I won't even have the chance to build one. So I definitely see that cup being a bit strange in terms of having like a fair, I guess, playing field for everybody. But at the same time, it is very unique to this game, and I think depending on how they implement it and what special events they have going on during that point, it could be very exciting.
So the person who's going to probably be really successful at that cup, it sounds like the person who sits on a Skarmory or Azumarill nest in their
Yeah,
area.
yeah, I know. That's definitely or Galarian Stunfisk will be one that hopefully will
Oh,
be able
that
to
too,
level
yes.
egg. But yeah, definitely, I feel like Marill is going to be a hard one to find. Skarmory might be from the League Rewards. I'm not sure if they'll keep that one in there, but yeah, hopefully. Anyway, the other part of it is just that I may not want to build, another Skarmory or another Azumarill. So definitely a
Yeah.
lot to think about for that cup.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I just want to see what kind of meta we're gonna face. That will be interesting to see. That's what I'm really looking forward to, because that will also show you that what the people did, where they cut it from, and it will be interesting. But it's not my favorite either. Um,
Mhm.
what I wanted to ask you too is, so we talked about this the last time, and I always ask this question to everyone because it's my favorite topic, and we had Evrip, if I'm saying it right, Evrip, who works basically for Pokemon Go Hub, and he've written a really cool article about esports and about how, and that was before he was predicting esports happening and going that direction basically before even Pokemon Go mentioned it. Their employees mentioned it that they are planning on esports. So, but now we have found out in a latest interview with the main developer for Go Battle League that, oh yeah, esports is definitely on the maps. That's what we were aiming for. And I just want to ask your opinion on it. That what do you think about Pokemon Go eventually esports? Not necessarily the current state. We all know, as you developing your own software, you know that it's always an issue, always a problem. It can be fixed though eventually. So I know the servers are definitely probably not the best ones that we have right now, but let's talk about it. What do you think about esports? And what do you think where Pokemon Go might go with it, and how long will it take, in your opinion?
Okay, yeah. I think esports is definitely like a very exciting part of where Pokemon Go could go. I think it definitely has some great things going for it. One being it is actually contrary to what a lot of people often say. I think it is a very high skill cap game. You kind of see season after season the same players rising to the top towards the end of the season, which I think is strong evidence, basically, that there is enough skill in the game to warrant it being an esport. And also, I think over the last few seasons, they've done a very good job with the balance changes. And, we've seen, even though, maybe Azumarill is like a bit too strong in Great League, and maybe Dialga is a bit too strong in Master League, we've definitely seen their power come down season over season. And, with the Registeel nerf, with the introduction of Groudon in Master League, there's definitely some changes that have helped to balance the game and put it, I think, in terms of the meta, in a very good state. I think in terms of sort of where it would need to go in order to be, a legitimate esport. I think, well, one issue, as you mentioned, is the servers or the lag in general. Some lag is inevitable. I remember I was actually a contracted esports player for Clash Royale a few years ago, and
Oh,
I was
awesome.
playing in this one like very high stakes match back then, and there was actually lag, and my opponent was not able to play cards for like 10 seconds, and it was like there was probably like thousands of people watching, and so even then it can still happen. It happens for any online game. It's going to happen sometimes, but specifically I think there's sometimes where it's not lag but just kind of like a glitch where you'll miss like a fast move but you theoretically should have hit it, or something like that, where you just like kind of drop one move. And I think that is maybe less about lag and more just like a software glitch that they'll need to fix. So that's one big issue. And I think another issue is just that maybe the game needs to be expanded a little bit more in terms of, the skill cap in particular. If they could do like a 6-choose-3 format, like we have in Sylph, that might be a great step forward. But, I think the game is definitely trending in the right direction, and hopefully it will continue that way.
I love everything that you said. What do you think about, speaking of skill sets, what do you think about even ramping that up a little bit more? And what if different Pokemon would have different cooldown on switch clocks?
That could be definitely interesting as like another way to balance Pokemon. Yeah, I think that could be good. I'm not sure. Right now the Switch UI is like a bit confusing in terms of like how long you have to switch or how long you have to wait.
Mhm.
So they maybe need to rework that a little bit. But I could definitely see it increasing the skill cap, in particular if there's like some Pokemon you could like switch in and then switch right out or something. Kind of like catch your opponent's switch clock in a different time. I think that could be a great way to kind of add some more ways to mix it up a little bit. Yeah.
And so speaking of, since you brought up the skill set, now I want to pick your brain a little bit, especially for listeners who may not be up there just yet, and they haven't reached, let's say, rank 9 or rank 8, or this is their first season reaching rank 9, for example. So what I want to pick your brain with is that, so they understand a little bit that it's Pokemon Go is like chess, but with different typings and additional moves on each chess player, I should say. So there's a lots of tactic, logistics, and everything involved in this, and statistics. There's lots of things. So before we dive into that, dive into that. Sorry. So the question would have been is that, let's say if you are new or you are trying to explain to a new player what's your number one goal when the clock counts down 3, 2, 1. What's your number one goal? Is it win the lead, lose the lead, swap? How do you determine those 3 things that you're going to do, including shielding, no shielding, and all those? And then after that, like how do you determine if you want to win the lead or you want to win, let's say, the mid game or the end game? And how do you process all of the information and explain to somebody who just comes in and starts tapping in the game? Because, that's what you see when you actually see somebody play Pokemon Go.
Right. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, I think that a lot of this will depend sort of on the team, whether you want like switch or shield advantage. But in general, regardless of the team, I think, what I'm always thinking about from the start is what's my win condition going to be? If I lose the lead, it's probably not going to be having switch advantage. If my opponent starts out with like a super bulky Pokemon and I have, a Pokemon that needs more shields, it's probably not going to be having shield advantage. So just kind of understanding based on the Pokemon that you're seeing on both teams, kind of what your win condition is going to be at each point in the game if you have one, and just knowing how to play it. In particular, like not committing shields if you don't need to. And I've written an article about this, which I think you'll link to in general, like different game plans for whether you win the lead or lose the lead. But basically what it comes down to is understanding both your team and your opponent's team well enough to know at every point what possible win conditions you have and how to reach those win conditions.
Yeah, that's awesome. Guys, I hope you're listening, making notes and taking action and reading the article. Hopefully this was enough evidence that you need to read that article because you can learn a lot. And I learned a lot from you. From the last episode you were on, I went on a long streak, and I went up to, I think at that point, because I think that was right before or right after Premier Master, which I didn't have anything for, so I tanked really bad. I think like 2100, and then I went back up to 2800 by the end of the season. So, but that was right after your episode that aired, because I was like, all right, so if you're using statistics, you're using the app, you actually building a team this way with the leads, with the switch and everything, I was like, I can do it too. So I looked into it, and I literally just followed your lead on the article that you have written, and I was like, all right, it makes perfect sense, and it actually worked. So that's why I just want to make sure that people who are listening are actually taking action if you want to get better. If you don't want to get better, of course, don't take action, just listen. That's fine with me as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm always really happy to hear when someone says, oh yeah, your article or your app was so helpful to me. It always makes my day. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And speaking of making your day, so well, you said you are not really grinding anymore, right? Just maybe for Stardust, but you have most Pokemon in Pokédex and everything. So how do you spend your day? Do you mainly spend it on building teams, testing teams, or statistics in Pokemon Go, or what do you normally do?
Yeah. At this point, I'm mostly focused on, in general, like the Go Battle League part of it. And yeah, to be honest, like it depends on kind of the part of the season. In the beginning of the season, I'll be more focused on kind of research, like, understanding which Pokemon I think are going to be good in the season and which teams I might want to try out. Towards the end of the season, it's really just about, grinding as much as I can, maybe maxing my sets if I can, just trying to get as much experience as I can so that I know how to play each situation and can avoid losing games that I should have been able to win if I play correctly.
Yeah, I'm just at the same time while you were speaking, I was just thinking and picturing you. Once we go esports, and then you obviously always on the top of the board, then how your life would actually completely change. If when Pokemon Go would go esport, because then everything would change. Then technically you become an athlete, and you would have to focus on building the best team that you can actually perform in each tournament. Is that something that you think you would want to do in the future?
Yeah, it's tough. I do like kind of the casual aspect to some extent of, even though there's a leaderboard and stuff, not, feeling like I have to spend all of my time just on it. When I was playing Clash Royale as an esport, I felt like it did take up maybe too much of my time. And that was a big reason why I stopped. In addition to, when the stakes get higher, then there's more pressure and it in some ways becomes less fun. So I'm not sure necessarily that being a competitive esports person is like for me, but definitely it would be exciting to, have other top players have that opportunity. And yeah, and I definitely don't think it'll also be an overnight thing either. Like I think we'll start out with like maybe some smaller tournaments where there's like small prizes or something, and then eventually we'll get to the point where, people might be able to be contracted or, have it as like a full-time career. But I think that's definitely like an incremental step away.
And what are you planning on right now as of for a PvP IV or anything that you have in mind right now you're working on, or anything where people can find you, or anything that you are expecting to do in the next few weeks, months, even a year, if you have something big that you have planned on, what would that be?
Yeah, so in terms of like the actual game, I do feel like in many ways I've kind of reached an in-game stage where I don't have anything I want to prove too much. I'm still gonna try to stay on the leaderboards each season, but that sort of like desire to hit rank 10 for the first time is not there for me anymore as much, just because I've done it, a few times now. But in terms of PvP I'm definitely still focused on, making that more accessible, especially for people on Android where we're missing a lot of the features, and in general, just adding as many features as I can. Actually, recently I added a feature with the original functionality of like checking your IVs to see how they rank, where you can actually see if you're missing any breakpoints or bulk points just by entering your IVs. Right now, that actually is a pro feature to see which actual Pokemon are different. You can still see the number as a free user, but I am thinking about maybe trying to make that free for everybody as well. But anyway, so more features like that, just like subtle improvements to maybe custom metas where you can see more like percentages of how frequently you see each Pokemon, stuff like that. Definitely focus on minor improvements like that.
That sounds really awesome, by the way. I have to check it out. And I hope you guys check it out too. Make sure you check it. We're going to link it in. So hopefully lots of people are going to check it out for your benefits, by the way, because it would definitely help. And what I want to ask you too is where could people get in touch with you? Where can they read your articles, or where are you active where they could just see what you are doing, what you're up to? Because obviously you are very influential in a way that what you're doing is working. So if people want to get better, they should definitely research you a little bit.
Yeah, so I am on Twitter. You can put my Twitter link, I guess, in the description. I will usually post there when I have any major update, like a new article or a large update to PvPIV. I'll usually post that on my Twitter. In addition, pvpiv.com, I'll sometimes post the articles there, or Reddit in the Self Arena. But in general, I guess the Twitter would probably be my best place to see sort of all my updates in one place.
And is there anything else that you think you want to talk about or share to any of our listeners right now before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, thanks again for having me on. It was great as always.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate you because I have learned so much. And guys, I really wanted to bring you back because I have learned so much from you. And I want to make sure that all of our listeners also learn so much from you because everything that you have been done is actually working and there's actually proof to it. So it's way different than just saying, all right, guys, I created a team. I went 5-0, go check it out. You actually, plain and clear, here are statistics. This is how it's done. This is what I have done. Good luck. And it works. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for doing that.